Hello and welcome back to Mimileaks. Today, we're diving into a heated battle involving superstar Drake and the music giant Universal Music Group, or UMG. At the center of the storm is Kendrick Lamar's hit song, Not Like Us, which gained massive popularity and buzz in 2024, and has Lamar set to headline the upcoming Super Bowl halftime show. However, Drake's lawsuit is not against Lamar, but against UMG over what Drake claims is the promotion and publication of material with wholly false allegations. Drake's legal action has ignited ridicule, as many see it as suing over a rap beef that he participated in and lost. As with most of the material we cover, please be mindful that sensitive content will be discussed, and you may wish to skip this episode. Having said that, I will provide an overview of the case, the parties, and then read aloud from the complaint as we discuss the allegations in detail. The document's 80 pages, so this will likely be a two-part series. Stay tuned for all the insights and drama, and before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the channel. Here we go. This was filed in the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, and it's Aubrey Drake Graham versus UMG Recordings. In the middle of the night on May 7, 2024, armed assailants drove up to Drake's Toronto house. Someone yelled profanities, and at least one gunman opened fire. A bullet hit Drake's front door, and another hit and wounded his friend and security guard. Drake and others summoned help and tried to keep the guard alive. Though it took days for his condition to stabilize, the security guard survived. The following day, another intruder entered Drake's property. Thankfully, his security guards intervened, but not before intruder yelled slurs and threats against Drake. The next day, May 9th, yet another break-in attempt occurred. Events like these have never happened to Drake or his family. These events are not coincidental. They immediately followed UMG's campaign to approve, publish, and launch a viral hit and defamatory material, released on May 4th. UMG, the world's largest music company, enriched themselves and shareholders by exploiting Drake's music for years, and then by choosing corporate greed over safety in publishing salacious allegations calling for violence against the performer. The song in question is Not Like Us, written and performed by Kendrick Lamar Duckworth. The lyrics set a defamatory, malicious narrative that Drake engages in criminal acts against minors. The image released with the track uses Drake's Toronto home covered in icons related to ex-offenders. The video bolsters these images and messages, all of which is unequivocally false. The suit is not about Kendrick Lamar. It's about UMG, the company that published, promoted, and exploited false allegations because it served them. It served in the purpose of making money, incentivizing a newly attained artist nearing contract renewal in Lamar, and devaluing an established, more expensive artist in Drake. The campaign was so successful that it continues through the filing of this suit, with a mob-like response from the listening public, all while Drake has been forced to change his daily life due to threats. UMG has done nothing to help, even when confronted by Drake repeatedly. Thus, Drake is forced to seek legal remedy. Parties. Plaintiff Aubrey Drake Graham, aka Drake, is a rapper, singer, songwriter, actor, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. Drake is a citizen of Texas. Defendant UMG Recordings, Inc. is a wholly owned subsidiary of Universal Music Group. UMG is a Delaware corporation with its headquarters in California. UMG is registered and does business in New York and touts itself as the world leader in music-based entertainment, which produces, distributes, and promotes the most critically acclaimed and commercially successful music to delight and entertain fans around the world. UMG has recording contracts with some of the world's biggest music stars, including Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Drake has been signed under exclusive recording contracts, controlled by UMG since 2009. As of 2024, Kendrick Lamar releases music from his independent label through an exclusive direct listening agreement with UMG through Interscope. Jurisdiction and venue. The court has jurisdiction as this matter exceeds $75,000, exclusive of interest and costs, and is between citizens of different states. This court may exercise personal jurisdiction over defendant because UMG transacts business and owns property within the state. Further, the court may exercise personal jurisdiction because UMG conducts and solicits business within New York. Venue is proper because a substantial part of the events or omissions by UMG giving rise to the claims occurred in this district, and because personal jurisdiction is in this district. Background. Liability in this case is predicated on defamatory material that UMG published and or caused the publication of beginning on May 4th, 2024, continuing through the date of this filing. The background section provides facts and context about the parties and the events leading up to the initial publications. A. Drake is internationally recognized as a multi-talented rap star. Drake's career spans 2 decades. While Drake first rose to fame in the early 2000s as the star of hit Canadian teen drama TV series Degrassi, The Next Generation, the rapper Drake is now known worldwide. Drake is one of the world's best-selling Background. Liability in this case is predicated on the defamatory material that UMG published or caused the publication of, beginning on May 4, 2024, continuing through the date of this filing. This background provides facts and context about the parties and events leading up to initial publications. A. Drake is internationally recognized as a multi-talented rap superstar. Drake's career spans 2 decades. While he first rose to fame in the early 2000s as the star of hit Canadian teen drama television series Degrassi, The Next Generation, the rapper Drake is now known worldwide. Drake is one of the world's best-selling music artists of all time. Some of his biggest hits include Hotline Bling and One Dance. Between 2010 and 2024, Drake released 8 studio albums with more than 170 million albums sold. Drake has 13 number 1 hits on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. His success has been repeatedly celebrated by the music industry. Drake's been nominated for 55 Grammys, won 5, including most recently in 2023. Drake's also won 42 Billboard Music Awards, and in 2021, he accepted Billboard's Artist of the Decade award. Drake proudly accepted it with his young son, father, and members of his team by his side, dedicating the award to his son, friends, longtime collaborators, and peers. Drake's professional and entrepreneurial endeavors extend beyond music. In 2012, he founded the Canadian-based record label OVO Sound, which has signed artists including Party Next Door, Majid Jordan, Smiley, and Naomi Sharon. Drake also uses the brand name OVO, represented by an owl, for his clothing brand. Far more than just label merch, the clothing brand has collaborated with Canada Goose, Canadian retailers Roots, Disney, the NCAA, the NFL, and Supreme. In addition to lucrative online sales, OVO operates several brick-and-mortar stores in Canada, the United States, and the United Kingdom. Drake founded a multidisciplinary media production company, Dream Crew, which operates a management company, production house, and content studio. Through Dream Crew Entertainment, he has executive produced award-winning documentary films, feature films, and hit TV programs for FX, Hulu, Netflix, and HBO, including Top Boy, which has received awards from the British Academy TV Awards, and Euphoria, for which Drake received a Primetime Emmy Award nomination. As a celebrity with global name recognition, Drake is regularly approached for collaborations, partnerships, and endorsement deals. In 2013, Drake became the global ambassador for Toronto's NBA team, the Raptors. Since then, he's inspired new alternate team jerseys, narrated team ads, hosted a Drake night, each session for several years, and pledged charitable donations to refurbish community basketball courts and to support Canada Basketball, the country's national basketball federation. In 2019, the Raptors renamed their practice facility the OVO Athletic Center. Drake's partnership with the Raptors is significant to the team in the city, and president of Toronto Raptors, Masai Ujiri, I believe, has said that the Raptors' relationship with Drake has always ultimately been about celebrating the city and about the people who make it unique. We have something special, very special, happening in Toronto, and Drake is a big part of that, he said. Drake's philanthropic efforts have received almost as much attention and praise as his music. Drake has a history of making generous donations and going on charitable sprees in the communities where he shoots music videos and appears on tour. Through his charitable giving, he has supported public schools and nonprofit educational programs, community development organizations and homeless shelters, hurricane relief efforts, and various individuals in need, including college students, grieving mothers, patients in need of surgery, and fans in dire need of financial assistance. Drake also focuses on giving back to his community in Houston, Texas, including by providing much-needed financial assistance in the wake of Hurricane Harvey. As UMG knows, and has understood at all relevant times, Drake has never been indicted, charged with, or convicted of committing any crimes whatsoever, much less any crimes against minors. B. UMG is a music industry giant. In its own words, UMG is the world leader in music entertainment. UMG is engaged in the business of acquiring, administering, licensing, exploiting, and otherwise monetizing a catalog of copyrights containing musical compositions and sound recordings. UMG controls almost a third of the music people listen to in the developed world and a sizable portion in the developing. In the music industry, control over a particular single, album, or collection of works is governed by various contracts, including traditional recording deals and distribution, publishing, and licensing deals. In a traditional recording deal, a record label typically retains exclusive rights to an artist and the artist's recordings and the right to re-record compositions for a period of time. The label pays in advance for the recordings and royalties and finances the provision of services to the artist in areas such as productions, promotions, marketing, and distribution. A distribution deal differs in that it is generally allowing an artist to retain ownership of his recordings and grants the record label the exclusive right to sell, license, and distribute the recordings in certain formats for a specified period of time. With a music publishing admin deal, the artist, as songwriter, generally retains ownership and pays a percentage of the music publishing revenues to a publisher to administer, promote, exploit, license, and protect use of the songs. A 360 deal, known as a master contract, is the most comprehensive. It encompasses the traditional rights granted in a recording deal, but also provides the record label with control over or a passive income stream from the merchandising, touring, endorsements, and other ancillary ventures the artist may undertake. Once Universal Music owns the recording, distribution, and/or publishing rights to a work, it exploits that ownership through licensing deals with third parties. UMG licenses its music to hundreds of retailers around the world. These allow deals to go through third parties and legally use a recording, musical composition, or portions thereof. Universal Music has licensing agreements with all of the major platforms, including but not limited to iTunes, Amazon, and so on. And in the event that a person or entity wants to use a recording outside one of the licensing platforms, it has to request the right to do so from Universal Music, which holds the synchronization contract. A third party cannot legally use Universal Music's recordings or UMPG's licensed content embodying these without the explicit consent of Universal Music. Through its exclusive licensing rights, Universal Music wields incredible power to promote and popularize a song or a performer. UMG invests significant amounts of money and time and effort to advertise, promote, sell, and distribute the music it owns. Universal Music exercised this control in early 2024 when it pulled its songs from publication on TikTok over issues with the platform's use of generative artificial intelligence. Through copyright ownership, they can control unlicensed use of its music, but It can also strategically waive or reduce the customary fees it charges for rights to its music to provide the unrestricted spread of a song. This tactic, known as whitelisting, happens when a copyright holder, like Universal, permits a user or platform to use its content without charging fees or imposing other limitations. In normal course, internet platforms operate automated content ID systems to block the unauthorized use of copyrighted material. In whitelisting, these automated systems are turned off. Universal Music says it exists to shape culture through the power of artistry, because music is unique in its ability to inspire people. That power to shape culture and inspire people is apparent by the numbers. In its 2023 annual report, Universal boasts that it has a catalog of more than 220 artists and brands, 3.2 million recordings, and 4.5 million owned and administered titles. At the end of 23, Universal had an ownership interest in 61 of the Billboard Hot 100 tracks. In Q1 24, Billboard reported that UMG represented 33.9% of the record label market share. On social media platforms alone, music owned by Universal was streamed 11 trillion times in 23. UMG's size dwarfs other music companies, and this size gives an advantage. They have physical presence in 200 geographic markets, which gives artists signed to them a critical edge compared to peers at competing labels, as the company can amplify the local success of an artist from one region to the rest of the world. UMG uses this to convince artists to sign with its labels. Because of streaming, it is more of an uphill battle than ever before to capture the audience's attention amongst a sea of songs. UMG's market positions, combined with the flood of content, means that artists depend on them to stand out from the crowd. Even established artists depend on them to maximize their commercial success through its world-class marketing, proprietary data analytics, global distribution, and additional monetization opportunities. Artists sign with UMG in sum because a UMG partnership promises to support the artist's music with an experienced team of professionals incentivized to advance one's career. UMG's executives are handsomely compensated for exploiting artistic works. The reports that its executive compensation is driven by its transition to more performance-based packages. UMG's executives, including those at Interscope, have an annual incentive program which is rewarding for them for meeting and surpassing sales and profit projections, among other metrics. The incentives are largely based on the specific UMG division rather than the performance of UMG more generally. For example, the annual incentive or bonus of Interscope CEO, John Janik, is based 90% on the financial success of Interscope and only 10% on the financial success of UMG generally. The division-based incentive structure creates perverse incentives within UMG. Janik and other Interscope executives are incentivized to maximize the financial success of Interscope labels without taking into account the impact on other UMG labels. For example, through the promotion of the recording and its revitalizing impact on Kendrick Lamar's entire recording catalog, including his first 5 studio albums, Interscope and Interscope executives benefit regardless of the effect on other UMG labels, like Republic, which represents Drake. C. UMG and Drake have a long partnership. UMG began profiting off of his art in 2009. The parties extended the contracts in 2022. After announcing this extension, Sir Grange described Drake as one of the biggest artists of today and expressed that UMG couldn't be more excited about what lies ahead for its relationship with Drake. Through their contract extension, UMG profits from exclusive right to exploit his music. The contract between them is up for renegotiation in 2025. By the spring of 24, UMG understood that streaming platforms had enhanced the bargaining power of artists. Established artists who are coming up for renewal are in an improved position to take higher rates due to improvement of visibility of cash flows and risk reduction. As described below, UMG was incentivized to act and did in a manner to reduce that bargaining leverage in advance of upcoming negotiations with Drake over contract renewal. D. UMG has licensing and publishing rights over Kendrick Lamar's music. From 2012 through 23, Kendrick Lamar was signed to an exclusive production company agreement with Top Dog Entertainment, which, in turn, furnished his exclusive recording services to the Aftermath Entertainment Record imprint, a joint venture of Interscope. The sound recording copyrights to Kendrick Lamar's first 5 studio albums are owned and controlled by Interscope. In 23, having fulfilled his recording obligations with Top Dog and Aftermath, Kendrick Lamar signed a new short-term exclusive recording and licensing deal with UMG through Interscope, and an exclusive publishing administration agreement with UMG through UMPG. Through these contracts, UMG exclusively controls the release, publication, and licensing of all music product created by Lamar during the contract term, including the defamatory material. Lamar signed a short-term deal with UMG to see if they could prove its value to him, to promote him more effectively than any other music company could in a compressed time frame. If successful, Lamar would then continue his relationship with UMG through a new, longer-term contract. That long-term deal was consummated in December of 24. UMG contracts with Lamar provide UMG the right to prevent the publication of and/or insist on modifications to any material created by Lamar, including but not limited to any content with which UMG believes to be defamatory. UMG publishes the defamatory material. A. UMG publishes the recording and begins to defame Drake. On May 4, 2024, pursuant to its publication and licensing rights, UMG published the recording for streaming on YouTube, YouTube Music, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and others. When viewed on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeart, SoundCloud, and Deezer, the recording includes the following language: exclusive license to Interscope Records, which is a division of UMG. Since defendant's initial publication of the recording, it has been streamed more than 990 million times on Spotify alone as of the date of this filing. The recording repeatedly accuses Drake of engaging in criminal acts, including those with minors and others that would require registering as an offender and of being a registered offender. Within the first minute, the recording identifies Drake by name and states that Lamar has heard that Drake has a predilection for underage women. Say, Drake, I hear you like 'em young. The next line is a thinly veiled threat that Drake should be careful that he never ends up in prison, a place where child predators are notoriously the targets of violence. Quote, you better not ever go to cell block 1. The recording continues to say that any woman who falls in love with him should be careful to hide their little sister from him. Next, in a perverse reference to Drake's 2021 album Certified Lover Boy, certified P-file, in a play on the dual meaning of minor, a person under the age of 18, and a musical scale. The recording says that Drake is trying to strike a chord, and it's probably a minor. I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna try to read this, I'm sorry. Later in the recording, Lamar describes Drake as Malibu's most wanted. It continues to say that Drake and the people in his circle need to be served with a subpoena because a predator moves in flocks, and asserts that Drake's name got to be registered and placed on neighborhood watch. The recording also repeatedly suggests that violence should be used against Drake because he is a P-file. Like the sound of someone being beaten up, the recording repeats, wop, 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 Donald F him up. I'm sorry, you guys. Okay. But it does say that. Later, the recording threatens that if Drake comes to Oakland, where Lamar grew up, he will not make it out alive. I think that Oakland gonna be your last stop. The recording makes clear that justice will be served not through the legal system and or commentary on social media, F a caption, but through physical violence. Want action? No accident. I'm a hands-on, he F around, get polished. At the end of the recording, the lyrics threateningly repeat, hey, 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 run for your life. Hey, 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 run for your life. The recording contains numerous additional statements that imply the existence of evidence to support the allegations against Drake. The recording threatens that Lamar could reveal more secrets. Rabbit hole is still deep. I can go further, I promise. And that the public will believe him. The audience not dumb. Shape the stories how you want, hey. Drake, they're not slow. The recording continues by making reference to Drake and his songs like Family Matters and God's Plan, and accusing Drake of being a liar for denying allegations of criminality. The recording, The Family Matter and the Truth of the Matter, It Was God's Plan to Show Y'all the Liar, also makes a vulgar attack on Drake's brand OVO. What does OVO stand for? The other V option. And let me hear you say OVO, say OVO, OVO. Furthering the recording's refrain that Drake is not like us, The recording alludes to his Jewish heritage, saying that he is not a colleague, but an effed colonizer. Within the recording, UMG also published an image on May 4th, 2024, to various platforms, and any person who listens to, views, or streams the recording on one of those platforms can view the image. The image features an aerial view of Drake's Toronto home, includes identifying information regarding where it's located, and is covered by icons used by law enforcement and public safety applications like Citizen to identify child ex-offenders and their residences, on public registries. As of the date of this filing, UMG's original publications of the recording and the image remain available on the aforementioned platforms. At all times, UMG knew the allegations in the defamatory material were baseless. Despite that, at no point has UMG ever asked him or his representatives about whether allegations in the defamatory material were true. Sargrange and Janik were involved in the initial publication of the recording and image. Separately, Monty and Avery Lipman, Republic CEO and president respectively, failed to prevent the publication. B. The defamatory material is false. The allegations against Drake are unequivocally false. Drake has never been charged with, indicted for, or convicted of any charges of violence or assault, including, but not limited to, violence against a minor. Nor has Drake ever engaged in inappropriate romantic or other behavior with a minor. The recording provides no evidentiary support for any of its defamatory allegations. Instead, it opaquely references hearing these allegations and threatening that it can go further. C. Drake publicly denies the defamatory material. On May 5, 2024, just a day after UMG published the recording and image, Drake denied all allegations in a song called The Heart Part 6. He explained that he has never been with no one underage and that his name is not on the ex-offender list. Despite being able to contact Drake, UMG did not ask him or his representatives to discuss the denials of the allegations contained within the defamatory material. D. Drake is the target of violence almost immediately. Within days of UMG's publication of the recording and image, which described a location of Drake's residence in Toronto and accused him of being a criminal pedophile and called for violence against him, multiple strangers, at least one that was armed with a deadly weapon, targeted him. At 2 a.m. on May 7th, a group of men drove by Drake's Toronto residence, screamed "F Drake," and released at least 2 shots. One bullet went through the security fence and hit his front door. The other seriously wounded Drake's security guard. Drake and others in the house rushed to the man's aid, trying to keep him from bleeding out while the ambulance came. The injuries he sustained were serious, and for 2 days, doctors were not sure if he would live. The news quickly jumped on the story of the violent attack against Drake, with all of the major news outlets publishing stories. For days, news helicopters flew around his house. While no one from UMG ever reached out to him or any representatives to check on his well-being, UMG undoubtedly saw the press coverage of the attack. Also on May 7th, across the globe in London, UK, Drake's OVO clothing store was vandalized with graffiti that said, "They not like us." The graffiti was likely viewed by hundreds of Carnaby Street passerby before the glass window could be removed and millions online once the news broke. On May 8th, a different invader attempted to break into Drake's property by using his bare hands to dig under the security gate. While the invader slid under the fence and entered the property, he screamed racist slurs and threats towards Drake. The invader was apprehended by security before making it to the house. On May 9th, there was another trespasser on Drake's Toronto property. This time, he got into a physical altercation with Drake's security guards before being taken away by police. The individual returned to the property on May 11th. These acts of violence against his residence, where he lives with his son, and against his business are not normal. In all years that he has been a celebrity, nothing like the events of early May has ever happened to Drake before. After these attacks, he reasonably fears for the safety of his family and himself, particularly at his Toronto property. Following the May 7th shooting, Drake temporarily pulled his 7-year-old son out of school and the Toronto area. Drake lives his life differently since the UMG publication of the material. Drake has increased his security team in Toronto and everywhere he goes. E. UMG continues to defame Drake by publishing the Not Like Us music video. On July 4th, 2024, 2 months after UMG initially published the recording and image, and with the knowledge of actual violence and online threats that had already emerged, UMG published a Not Like Us music video on YouTube and to users of Apple Music and Tidal. Universal Music is a significant owner of Vevo, and it's a privately held American multinational music video hosting service. Universal uses Vevo to distribute video content on global platforms like YouTube and major television networks. The video describes images bolstering the recording's defamatory allegations. For example, the lyrics, "Trying to strike a chord and it's probably A minor," are matched along with an image of hopscotch, a popular playground game for children. The imagery reinforces the drawn-out singing of the A minor lyric and the lie that Drake is a pedophile. Lamar is depicted in front of shipping containers with air conditioning units inside. These images are associated with trafficking. The video also includes allusions to Drake's OVO brand, which is represented by an owl. In combination with the lyrics "wop wop 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 wop, that'll F 'em up," the video shows Lamar beating an owl-shaped piñata with a bat. During the scene, a caption appears at the bottom of the video stating, "Disclaimer, no OVOs were harmed during the making of this video." In its conclusion, the video depicts a prolonged shot of a live owl in a cage. The meaning's clear. Drake is behind, or should be behind, bars. Defendant's initial publication of the video on YouTube has been viewed more than 206 million times as the date of this filing. As of this date, UMG's original publications of the video remain available on the aforementioned platforms. Each of Sir Grange, Janik, Lipman, and Avery Lipman, that's Monty and Avery Lipman, played a role in the initial publication of the video, either in directing or approving the publication or failing to prevent its publication. UMG published the defamatory material with knowledge of or reckless disregard for its falsity and knowledge that it was reasonably foreseeable to cause Drake harm. UMG does not believe now, nor has it ever, that Drake is a pedophile, an ex-offender, or otherwise a criminal. Defendant published, republished, and promoted the material knowing that the allegations were not true, or at least with reckless disregard. UMG also published and promoted the false allegations against Drake despite the inherent improbability of the allegations, reliable contrary information, and awareness that they were unsupported by any evidence, let alone reliable evidence. As an initial matter, UMG has a financial interest in knowing any potential liabilities Drake had or could have, including criminal charges or convictions. As laid out in their code of conduct, UMG is committed to human dignity, does not tolerate human rights abuses such as child labor, slavery, human trafficking, and unsafe or unfair work practices at operations, and only conducts businesses with those who share their commitment to protecting human rights. UMG would not have contacted or contracted with Drake in the first instance, nor would it have continued to maintain that had it believed any relevant time that any allegations were true. UMG understands, as is easily confirmed through basic public record searches, that Drake has never been charged with, indicted for, or convicted of any charges of violence or assault, including, but not limited to, that against a minor. Furthermore, they have access to Drake and could have asked him directly about the veracity of the allegations at any point in time. UMG also, or should have known, that by publishing the material, it was gambling with Drake's safety. Critically, in addition to accusing Drake of being a criminal pedophile, the defamatory material calls for violence against him and depicts his home address in Toronto. Incidents like 2016's Pizzagate shows how accusing someone of being a pedophile and or of committing crimes against children can spin out of control into a viral conspiracy and acts of real physical violence. They directly know the harm that can arise from such outrageous allegations of criminal activity. UMG and Grange were recently accused of aiding and abetting P. Diddy in committing heinous and widespread acts of violence against minors. UMG and Grange acted swiftly to refute those. In a court filing, Grange stated, "I do not take lightly being falsely and publicly accused of criminal activity, and as I said, I intend to pursue those who have made such outrageous allegations against me. Despite all of this, UMG did not disclose the video with Drake prior to publishing. And this is where we will finish for today. Next time, we will read the remainder of the complaint, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching. Please remember to like the video and to subscribe for the channel, and hit notifications so that you know when the next episode drops. Until then, stay safe, everyone.